I want to say, listen, execute and dominate in every area of your life, because today we want you to have a purpose for executing and dominating and consistency in every area of your life. Today is episode 123. 123. I just want to say this is going to be a very special treat for all the guys that are trying to get to the next level. I have very own special guest, Coach Jim McGuire, is Volunteer State Community College. He's a JUCO coach there. But before we start that, I have a question to ask you guys. What is the reason why you think that you're not getting a college offer? Why is it your talent is not being looked at? Is it lack of understanding? Is it lack of recruiting? But guess what? We're going to talk about those things, and also the transfer portal, because that is the big key today with society, the transfer portal. So what if I can just give you all the answers today? I think today will be your day. But sit back, take notes. But with that being said, I want to make sure I give my very own special guest, Coach Jim McGuire. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing great, man.
I got to give you my own salute, because I've been knowing you for a very long time. I was in, I was young. I was younger.
It was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. It's been. I've been knowing you for quite a while. I'm not gonna tell my age. I've been knowing Coach McGuire. Put it this way: it was the end of my playing career, and now I'm coaching. So it's been a long time, Coach. A long time. But I want to say thank you for coming on again. I had you. I think it was like my episode 6. This is like one of my very first few. This is episode 123. So I've had
You
a
said 123. I couldn't believe
yeah,
it.
123. It's been going on for quite a while. I had to get you back on due to the fact I know your season's going to ready to start. And I know right now we got a lot of high schoolers that want information. And I want to get the right information to them, because a lot of information on YouTube is not right. And we all know that. And it's fluff. We want to give you the right information. So, with that being said, Coach, again, thank you for coming on. I want to ask you some questions, and I'm gonna go right to it. So, you know, what do you think should most high school players, I like to call them players, because normally when they're in high school, you got to change to a different position, because shortstops can be converted to center fielders, shortstops can be converted to third baseman, shortstops can be converted to any position on, because a lot of times, we got these guys that think that they could play just shortstop. But my question to you is this: what is the first thing that you look for when you're trying to recruit a guy?
Well, I mean, I think every coach is going to tell you that athleticism, I think everybody's going to take a look at that first. You're going to look at the position that they play, and then just what you said, you're trying to make a determination. Can they stay at that position? You might like their bat, or like something about them, or is something going to make you want to move them to another spot? But athleticism is always going to be one of the first things. But for me, especially at this level, and I know this is a general statement, but I'm looking for ball players, for baseball players, guys that have an understanding about the game, that handle themselves the right way, that stay focused and stay in tune, have a baseball IQ. I
Yes.
mean, just things like that that can separate them from just somebody that's just an athlete,
Right.
because there is a difference. Athleticism is great. When I was at the Division 1 level for a long time, athleticism was always going to be at the top, and then you were going to have them for 4 or 5 years, develop them and get them better. Whereas for me now at the community college level, in this short 2 year window, sometimes only 1 year with the way this is all set up now,
Right.
the being a baseball player, and you want to have the skill set, you want to have the metrics, you want to have the numbers, you want to have all that. But for me, I need somebody that is a baseball player, that understands the game, pitchers that can throw strikes, hitters that know how to handle the bat, move runners, understand where they're supposed to,
Right.
excuse me, position themselves, all the little things.
Yeah.
And I already saw you smiling when I'm talking about throwing strikes, because that's that that seems like that's starting to go to the wayside a little bit more. Everybody wants
Right.
to throw hard.
Right.
Um,
But can't throw no
Gotta
location
throw
is bad.
strikes.
The
That's
location is everywhere.
part of the deal. But for me, that's a long-winded answer on baseball. IQ is still very, very important. You want to be the best baseball player that you can be, But that side of it becomes more and more important when coaches have to make a decision.
Yeah, coach. With you coaching for several years, almost 3 decades, from my understanding, it is three
More than
decades,
3 decades.
more than three decades.
I'll go ahead and say it's been this is year 37. So
And you don't look like it.
coaching
Don't
is
look like it
counting.
at all. I mean, God most definitely has got you because you don't look like that at. Or you must have started when you were 18 years
I
old.
started young. Yeah, I started very young.
So coach, you you have such experience with coaching across for multiple decades. What is the biggest change you've seen in college baseball today, as far as the recruiting day compared to when you first started?
Well, I think when I first started, I know this is going to sound bad. This is going to sound very old school, but players and organizations and teams, high school teams, it was way more for me. It was way more team oriented,
Yeah.
as far as how you practice, what you did, how you approach the game. Where now, and I'm not saying anything is wrong with the style and the way everything goes now, with between there's just more information out there, and
Right.
it's more individualized, and it's more focused on the individual than the team. It used to be as the team got better,
Right.
then you got better, with it. Whereas now everybody jumps around so much, it becomes so individualized,
Right.
that you got to take that into consideration in recruiting too. That you can see a guy in a showcase, and he's been, I call him lessoned up. He's had a lot of lessons. He's worked. He understands that part of it. But I'm going back again. Is he on a good team? How does he fit in with that team? Because we got to still, even though I know we're going to talk about transfers later. I've got transfers now on the roster, and when you're trying to blend that all together, it becomes more difficult, and it's taken me a while to adjust to that. But I think we're losing that little bit of that team aspect. And then there's so many restrictions now. There's
Right.
restrictions in college, how much you can practice. There's restrictions in high school, how much you can practice, when you can practice. And, travel ball gets in, and I ran a travel organization too. I get that, but they just want to, play games, and there's more to it than that.
Playing the
So
games. Yeah.
to me, that's the difference as you're starting to watch players. You can kind of see, just it doesn't take long to kind of figure out what their steps that they've taken along the way,
Yeah.
to be able to do it. So they're way more individualized now. And again, I'm not saying that's totally wrong, because there's some players that have really developed
Right.
kind of under that umbrella. Um, but I think as we start to look at the landscape of baseball now, I'm getting
Correct.
probably a little too philosophical, but really starting to see the influx of the international player into Major League Baseball, and what they're doing in Asia, what they're doing in Latin America, what they're doing in, I've got a close friend that I coach that is in Holland and in the Netherlands, of how they do it. And I listen to what they're doing, and some of the things that they do, it's not so individually based like it is here. It is, you grow up basically through the team. And I still think that's getting lost a little bit. So that's been a little bit harder for me to adjust to, for sure.
Yeah. And I think you're right because it is a team. We still need 9 players on the team. You still need 9 players, and they have to do their job. So it's not like boxing. It's not like tennis. It's not like golf. It has similarity to golf, but it's still a team. And I think that it goes back to proper developmental. That's just my opinion. Proper developmental, because I'm coaching high school and travel, and I've noticed they don't have the developmental. They just go out there and hit the ball. Like there's more to it besides hitting the ball. So what do you do when there's a situation where at the bottom of the seventh or the bottom of the ninth, and there's one out, and one on first and third, and we're it's a tie score? What are you going? What's your job as a hitter? Are you trying to hit the ball out the park, or we're trying to move the runners to score so we can win? And I think that is something that most little league, what do you call it, daddy ball, whatever, the little leagues, they're not being taught, coach. They're just,
Right.
so by the time they come to me, before they even get to you, I have to break them to get them to understand the concept of the game. Now we understand that you can hit the ball, but the higher you go, the harder it is. The game gets smaller. It's not getting bigger. It gets smaller the higher you go, which leads me to the next question. From your perspective, what do most high school players misunderstand about college baseball? Would you say the misunderstanding you would say that they have this perception about college baseball and D1 baseball. What do you think one of the biggest misperceptions they have as a high school baseball player?
Yeah, I think the biggest misconception is that the only good baseball in college that there is the Division One level, and that is a huge misconception, especially in this day and age with the portal and the movement. And you have all these players in the portal, and they're not all going to go Division One.
That's right.
Our guys, as they come here, because I coach so long at the Division One level, they think I'm just going to put them on a path, a rocket ship, and they're all going Division One. Well, it doesn't work like
Look like
that.
that.
And I think too many players, including my guys, I'm not just stereotyping a high school player, a junior college player too, is they want to put all their eggs in one basket for the Division One. It's Division One or bust mentality, and that's the only good baseball. And that is not it is not the case at
Mm-hmm.
all. Again, especially now, there's good baseball at every level:
Every
Division
level.
Two, NAIA, junior college, Division Three. One of our players went Division Three 2 years ago. He was an all ended up developing there, all conference player, got his degree, had a great experience. It wasn't Division One. It wasn't 100,000 people in a football stadium on
Right.
Saturdays,
Right.
but the experience and the friendships and the
Right.
development that he was able to do by being able to go. But I still have players though that as they get to their sophomore year, if the Division One thing isn't lining up, then they start to get discouraged, just like a high school player does. And they've put in all this work and
Work.
this time, and they're good players, and then they don't think the other level is going to fit them, and they end up quitting and they end up
Right.
not playing anymore. I don't necessarily say that's quitting. I guess it ends their career,
Correct.
and they just decide, hey, I'm just going to go to school. When I think they're missing out on a great opportunity to
Mm-hmm.
go. I mean, I played in junior college.
I
I
did
played
too.
Division One, then I went junior college, and then I finished it at Cumberland, an NAI school. And I tell everybody, my best experience was at the NAI school. It
Right.
was 1,500 students. It's way bigger than that now, but it ended up fitting me better, and I've got lifelong friendships and a coach
Yes.
that I still rely on and trust and talk to every day. So I think younger players, the one advice I can give you is, I know not everybody grows up saying, oh, hey, I want to go to junior college and
Correct.
play. They don't. I want you should have that, set the bar high,
All right.
but then understand that there's a lot of great baseball out there, and don't put all your eggs in one basket. And I know we said the development word a lot, but you've got to go somewhere where you can develop, get an opportunity to play, and then it'll springboard you.
Yeah.
Again, too philosophical, but it'll springboard you
Right.
for the rest of your life.
Right. You're right, coach. And I know you recruit because you're a JUCO coach now versus when you're a Division One coach. So, with that being said, which leads me to this question here: how do you evaluate high school players differently now, especially with the transfer portal being such a big factor in part of your building your team?
Well, I mean, I think now more than ever. I mean, everybody that gets look, if you're one of those guys, you get that opportunity to go Division One. I mean, it's the best, it's the greatest level to be at. I'm never going to sugarcoat that. I mean, it is the resources and everything that you have. So, a lot of players they do for me now, I let everything kind of separate itself, and what I mean by that is the players that are going to get that opportunity to go Division One. Maybe they're a junior going in their senior year, whatever. They start to separate from the pack, and then I pay attention to those guys. Sometimes I'll reach out to them because you never know, they could go back into the portal later, and you might have an opportunity to get it. I'm not saying that I set my sights lower. I don't. I set my sights to guys that I think that as soon as I see them, if I think they've got an opportunity to develop and get better, and I can put a plan together for them for 2 years, then I know they're going to fit with what I want to do, and how I want to play here and what, because everybody does it different at the junior college level. Some deal totally in transfers, some deal in huge rosters, 60 or 70 on a roster. Some go through the fall and cut guys and bring a whole new
Yeah.
group in the spring. And I don't do it that way. I'm very traditional in what I do. So I want to be able to watch guys and say, hey, I can get this guy better in 2 years. He might be a little short here, a little bit short there. So I have just a shorter window. I don't have that 4 or 5 year window to get him to the highest level I can get him, or the most talented guy to get him to that point. So yeah, is the talent level sometimes a little bit less when I'm recruiting a high school guy? Maybe, but I think it's more they're just not quite ready.
Yeah.
I end up recruiting the guy that has Division I ability a lot of times, but he's just not quite ready to go there yet, and he needs the 2 years of development. And you got to it just takes time to watch that. Now, do I lean on a lot of people that I know to identify those guys for me sometimes? Yes. Whether it's a high school coach, whether it's a travel ball coach, whether it's a Division I coach that reaches out and say, "Hey, I think this guy, he's just a little short for us. He'd be better off going to junior college." So there's a process that I kind of have to go through. That yeah, sometimes it is kind of an elimination process, but again, it separates sometimes on its own.
Hmm.
But again, everybody wants to deal with video and analytics now. I still like to see guys play. I want to go watch them play because that's what they have to do when they come with me.
That's
You
right.
have to play. The line I use all the time is now, sooner or later, you have to show you can play the game.
Yeah.
You can have the numbers, you can have the analytics, you can have all the different things, and we all want that. I'm looking for
Correct.
that. But then once I see a guy, I start to see him play. That's the way I look at it. Hey,
Yeah.
he's not quite ready because I want to get the best player that I can get. Um, he just might be short in an area, may not be ready to be at the 4 year level, and then that's how they kind of filter their way, I guess, down.
Mm. Okay, I like that. That's a good. That's. I mean, I mean, if I was playing, I want to play for you anyway because I like the tradition. I just like the tradition. I mean, no disrespect to analyticals and velocity. And I'm not against that. But at the end of the day, can you hit the ball? Can you, when it's game time, are you going to perform? Because a lot of guys don't perform at game time.
Right.
They could put some great stats together during a showcase, but when the game comes, I'm like, what happened, bro? what what's
Yeah.
the problem? You like a brain fart. Come on, I need you to put it on. And some guys, I call it pipe dreaming, coach. I call it pipe dreaming
Right.
because I mean, I'm in South Florida. For the listeners who are listening, I'm in South Florida, and I think that everyone thinks they're going D1. Everyone thinks, and there's nothing wrong with shooting for the stars, but I think sometimes you need to make adjustments as you go to the top. Because remember, as I said in the beginning of the show, the higher you go, it gets it gets smaller and smaller. That means you're not as good as you were when you're in high school versus when you get to JUCO. That includes JUCO. And when you go to NAI or when you go to D1 or D2, it starts to shrink. And I said that because I've seen some great talent, and then all of a sudden, I mean, in high school, but then they go sign a D1 offer, and then they don't play. They say, "Well, coach," I like, "Well," but I told them before they left, coach. I told them like, "Listen, there's nothing wrong going JUCO. There's nothing wrong. Oh, coach, I can't go JUCO. I can't go JUCO. That's an insult to me." And guess what happened? They went there, and then they had went to a JUCO after that. But sometimes they got to learn on their own. You know that you got kids and players. They're like my kids, my players. I'm trying to give you some wisdom so you don't have to go down the same road I went down. Just go to JUCO. No, coach, you can't do it. But also, you get playing time at JUCO
That's
for the
right.
most part. For the most part, you still got to work. You still got to put in the work, which leads me to that next question: how important in development and projecting compared to current performance when you're evaluating a high school athlete? It goes back to what we just talked about. How important is developmental and the projectivity of that player, based on evaluating that high school athlete.
I think the projectability is huge. I think that's what it really comes down to. And again, I know I'm beating this up because the window is shorter in junior college because you don't have now. There is a lot of players now that end up playing 3 years in junior college or at the JUCO for 3 years, whether they just redshirt for to get another year or they're hurt or whatever. So I've had a lot of guys for 3 years as well, and you can see a big difference in them. The 1 year sometimes makes an unbelievable difference. Big, big, big difference when it comes to that side of it. But you do want to be able to look at that guy and kind of reiterate what I said earlier is you want to be able to say, hey, I can help get this guy better, but he does have to be projectable in what he's doing. And again, he may be short in one area or another, but if he's projectable, then it gives you the opportunity to develop him and do some things you want to do with him. There's very few guys that I end up taking. I know this sounds probably strange too, but there's very few guys that I take that you look at and go watch him play and see, he is what he is. That's all he is right there. I mean, he's not, his body is probably not going to develop much more. He's probably not going to get a whole lot stronger. He is what he is.
Yes. Yes.
There's very, very few guys that I take at this level that are like that. They're just not. There's always that window or that door. And because for me, a lot of times, I know this is going way against what people, and I've got guys on both sides of this, say on the pitching side, I would rather take a guy that's throwing a righty, let's say that's throwing 86, maybe he's 86, 87 up to 88, but he's got good secondary stuff, but his arm works and it's projectable. Now, as he gets stronger and he does work to develop the velocity, he already has pitchability, but now as the projectability kicks in and the development kicks in, now he's 88 to 91 or 2, and he's already got command to go with it. Then that guy can take off. It's hard to work. This is the way I describe it all the time. It's hard to work in reverse. It's hard to work with the guy
Yeah.
that's throwing 92 or 93
Right.
with no command,
Right.
and then teaching him command or development of the secondary stuff because he still wants to continue to throw harder.
Hard.
He
Right.
wants to get up to 95, but if he doesn't throw strikes and he doesn't have command in the secondary, that guy's not going to help you win. There's guys like that all over college baseball. But guess what? They don't pitch. They don't pitch because eventually they got to be able to go get guys out. And sometimes that guy doesn't. I'd rather take the guy with the projectability.
Right.
And that's just an example on the pitching side. The hitting side is the same way.
Right.
A guy that's maybe 6'2" or 3 and he's 175 pounds, put 10 pounds on him, put 15 on him, develop him that way. The power starts to come and go instead of the guy that's, I get everybody's in the weight room and maybe he's 5'11", 6 foot, and he's 210,
Right.
but there's not much projectability with him.
Right. He's
So,
already maxed out. He's
yeah,
maxed.
I try to kind of work more the other way.
Yeah. You like you said, you work in reverse. And I like that, but I wish more coaches would like that. And I do realize it's a business. And they're trying to make money because they want their jobs and they got families, they got responsibility. I get that part. But like going back to the beginning of the question, we talked about being a team. I think that college baseball is we're gonna have to put a cap on some things. I mean, I like the transfer portal, but I think it's sometimes can be abused, coach. It's an abuse because like you're not teaching that individual, that boy or that girl, something called stick-to-itiveness. Okay, what if you go transfer and it doesn't work out at the next place you go to? So you're going to transfer again, and you're going to transfer again. You're not having no stability. You're not learning how to deal with adversity when adversity hits you because you can't do that at a job. When you go to a job, and they say Seville and Jim, I want you to be at this place at this time, and you're like, I can't be there. Well, you can't get a job.
That's
You can't.
right.
You can't. I'm just using it for an example because I was a transfer guy as well, and I transferred 3 times. I'm not proud of that. I'm not nowhere close to proud of it because after I thought about it, I'm like, why you got 130 something credits? Because you were everywhere. You just you didn't stay in one place. And I said that because, yeah, I do understand NIL. I do understand the NIL. I do understand you're gonna make money, but you can only do this for so long, and you develop bad habits. You're starting to develop habits. So I hope and pray that the NCAA put a cap on some things and put some rules and guidelines because there's no rules. You just go. We just go. Because I heard that the JUCO, if you're playing JUCO, you start all over when you go to NCAA D1 again. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
they haven't officially passed that yet, but the Diego Pavia rule where it got everybody a year of eligibility, and he's now suing the NCAA again to try to get another year to erase his JUCO. If that happens, then I think it will kick in that you can start over again, which I'm not necessarily for that part of this. I think the eligibility should count, because
Yeah.
eventually there's the what I just saw the other day. I can't think of his name. The quarterback. This is going to be his seventh school.
Yeah. I think it's seventh, eighth grade. Yeah,
Seven
yeah,
different
yeah.
schools.
I'm
I
like,
mean,
what
it's
are we doing here?
unbelievable.
Like, well, what are we doing? I mean, you can only play ball for so long. But
Yeah,
if you're that good, go to the next level. Just try
right.
to go to the next level. I mean, I think that it's called abuse. We're abusing it. And with that, being said, Coach, I know you've been around many players that have went to the next level, and many players that didn't go to the next level. My question to you: what is the separator between the JUCO player going to go D1 and the separator from going from D1 to pro ball that you because you coached quite a few guys I've known. So what's the separator between
Yeah,
those?
I've had a lot of guys that have got into, that have signed and went into pro ball, and I think I've had 8 guys make it to the big leagues over, my career, to begin with. But I'm telling you, work ethic is always going to be number one. It's
Work
just
ethic.
always going to be number one. Work ethic and a desire to be the best that
Best.
you can be, and you can't, as a coach, you keep trying to instill that in them, but that's either inside someone. For me, it's
Right.
either in there or not.
Right.
And I do say this from time to players. There's times I say, hey, I think I want this more than
More
you
than
do.
you.
And
Yes.
you've got to show me
That's
that you
right.
want it more than I do
Right. That's right,
by
Coach. You're
by
right.
your work ethic and what you're doing. So the work ethic and the desire to be the best is two things. And the third part of it for me is I know this is a general statement that everybody can make. You got to be coachable, and you got to
Mm.
want to be coached, and you got to want to utilize whatever somebody is. You can't take. I know not everything is going to fit for everybody
Correct.
when a coach is talking to you, and I understand that. The other line, I'm throwing out all my lines today, but my other one is everybody wants to be coached until you're coached. Then you think it's criticism, or you just want to be told that you're good, and you're on.
Right.
You want that reassurance all the time instead of somebody that's coaching you, and then you can see the head drop, or the eye roll.
The body language.
The body language part of and it just now that drives me crazy. But anyway, that's part of I'm not going to get into what I say sometimes or do when that happens. But I've been known to, probably get, I'm not out of control, but I let them know that that's not acceptable. Let's just put it
Right.
that way.
Right.
But
Right.
um, but I think for me, it's those three things, and I can, and not to go into a bunch of different players, but I mean, I've had guys that you would watch them play either when they were a freshman or they were in junior college, and you'd be like, there is no way this guy's going to play in the big league someday, and they do, but they have all those intangibles that I just talked about, and they have that in here,
Mm-hmm.
and they've been told that they're not good enough, or they're not big enough, or they're not, Zach Curtis, who was a left-handed pitcher here at Volunteer State, that we recruited him at MTSU, and he was good, but he's 5'9" and left-handed. But by the time he was a senior, he led the country for us. He was a starter, led the country in strikeouts, and then was a ninth-round pick by the Diamondbacks. And 2 years later, he was in the big leagues. And there's no way you'd look at him and say it was impossible, but there gets to be something different about those guys,
Yeah.
and that's what's crazy to see. Now, it works the other way sometimes too. Those guys have that desire, they get into pro, and maybe they don't make it.
Right.
But all those things that they've done all the way, I can give you a list of those guys that are so successful now outside of baseball because of everything that they did while they were in it. They didn't make it in pro ball. Maybe they got to double A. Maybe they got to triple A. A couple of
Right.
them did. But man, all those things that they did and what was inside, now they're very successful families and all that kind of stuff. And in the end, not everybody's going to make it to the big leagues, but can you utilize all those things that you're doing to take that with you? Again, we've said it, that'll take it with you in regular life,
Right.
where you can, be a good husband, father,
Correct.
have a good job, and be successful the rest of the way.
Well, Coach, that's good, man. I'm going to take a commercial break right now. This is episode 123. You got very on the veteran. I call him the veteran coach. He's been around for 3 decades. 3 decades. Yes, he does look good. Thank you. I know he doesn't look like he's been coaching that long, but 3 decades. So my this is a sponsor by YGP Publisher, and those are the people that publish my book. If you're trying to get to the next step of getting to the next level of baseball, you don't understand what college coaches are looking for. Today is your actually day to go to www.rud1. That's AREYOUD1.com. So you can get informed, get prepared, and get yourself in position to win on and off the field. And by the way, here's a sneak preview of the book. So go ahead and get your copy right now. You will not be denied. Coach, thank you for that. I appreciate what you just said because I know from knowing you, you never talk about the guys you coached. And this is something I've noticed. I've coached, and I talk about the guys I've coached. Now, I don't say their names, but I say the situations because I know there's some situations of some guys that I'm like, there's no way on earth you're going to go play at the next level. But which brings me to that next thing is character. I want to talk about character, Coach. Because we talked a little bit about that in the first time we talked about that. And he's also, for the guys and girls that listen to this episode, he was on episode 6. So go to Spotify. Coach McGuire is on episode 6. So
you gotta dial it back.
you can dial it back. You can hear some more good stuff we talked about. But Coach, there's something that most coaches don't talk a lot about, not all, but most, is character. Because we always talk about the athletic ability, but we don't talk much about the character because character is something, how do you act when things aren't going your way? How do you act when you're defeated? How do you act when coach tell you you're sitting the bench today? I'm putting this guy in today. How do you act when you go 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts? So with that, you coach D1, travel ball, and JUCO. Does it really change at the different levels?
It changes, I hate to use the word, kind of like entitlement sometimes, but I think with certain players and families, I mean, they think, hey, you do this, 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 and this, and automatically puts you in there. But the character piece to me is still one of the most important parts of the player, of the game, of how it's played, of how you play, how you handle yourself, and what you do. Everybody, you're hearing a lot about it right now in football, just because that's what the sport that's hot right now and
Correct.
going. I'm a big Tennessee Titans fan, which it's not good to be a Titans fan right now. They 2-14 or whatever they are. I'm exaggerating.
They're gonna be the first 2 drafts again.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that right now. But all they keep talking about now is the new coach that they bring in is being able to develop the culture and everything that needs to go around the organization and around the, but in the end, it's the
Players.
it's the player's character that helps you develop the culture.
Right.
You in your mind, I can go through a spiel, I can give you a presentation on culture and what I believe in as a coach and what it is, but if you don't have the players that have that character, that's not going to happen. So they can sugarcoat it and say whatever they want.
I like that.
But it's the player's character that's how you develop the culture. The coach, right, he influences it. I think everybody loves Indiana football's
Correct.
storyline right now, what coach has done there. But everybody, I saw him on 60 Minutes the other night, but everybody kind of forgets he developed those guys at James Madison, and he had those character guys, and he brought like 12 of them with him.
To Indiana.
So the core of what he wanted to do, he brought that with him, and then started filling it around it, and then that all started to blend. But the character of that group of his core is what, to me, that's what allowed. He's a great coach. I'm not saying that at all. But I think when they talk about Indiana's culture and what he's been able to do, it comes from the character of the guys that he brought with him. And that's what the beauty of some of this is for these coaches that are jumping, because they can take their coaches with them. They can take their coaches with them. They can take their core of players with them, and they can leave the rest behind. So they can bring their guys, their character guys and good players with them, and then they can, and that's why they're having so much success so quickly. I really believe that's why. Now they have to, because of the way this is set up now, but character matters. It really does. I want to know how. I do. if I have to get on a player, which I will, or I have to tell him something he doesn't want to hear, I want to
Hmm.
know how he's going to handle that.
Right.
Can he look at me, and eye to eye, face to face, and yes, sir, coach. Not they may not like it. I
Right.
understand that. They may not like an instructor. They may not like an assistant coach, or they may not like an umpire.
Right.
Whatever it is, but the respect and the values and the character is still what it's all about. Do I like all what's going on now and all the annex that go on and the to me the disrespectful stuff sometimes it goes I hate it. I don't like it at all. I get it. I understand. They say, oh, you're just old school or whatever. And I said, no, I just respect people.
Right. Right.
I'm more about the people and developing people, and I want relationships, and I want those and I'm going to have respect, whether you're good, bad, or indifferent, and I just
Right.
want the same thing
In
back.
return.
And I
Yes.
think that's a big piece of the character part that everything kind of gets pushed to the side. And I'm going back to the individual part of it again. I think that's what catches up to everybody before it's
Yes.
over with. You'll
Yes.
embrace the team side of it, watch the guys around you, be able to put that together. I think that's where you grow, and I think that's where you become a better player too. Those guys are a lot more fun to coach too. You know that,
Yeah,
right?
they are.
Instead
They
of
are.
fighting guys all the time and having to constantly try to correct them and get them back in line with what you're doing, it's not as much fun. It's really
No, no, it's like a headache. It's a serious migraine headache. It just can't. It won't go away till the end until the season's over. That's just.
or they move on, right?
Oh yeah, it's just the truth because I can recall of quite a few guys that I haven't coached as long as you. I got 10 years, and I can tell you I know a couple on the top of my head right now. I can think of kid come to practice every day late, every day. Like you drive. Why are you late? With my dad. I'm like, wait a minute. What are you talking about? Every day?
Right.
Every day you're late? And then I got tired. I was like, listen, just run. Because you're slow. You're delaying the whole team. You're not just hurting yourself. And you don't communicate. And you're not communicating. You're not talking to me. You're not telling me anything. And you know the rules. And so, but that also goes back to discipline. Goes back to discipline. How bad you want it. Goes back to what you said about the heart. I mean, the heart's going to tell you where you are. The heart tells me everything. Your mouth can say one thing, but your heart's going to really show, and I'm going to see everything. Because sooner or later, I'm going to say who you really are. Like you talked about showcasing, we talked about, do you play the game? How do you play the game? How are you going to respond in the game? Because at the end of the day, I need results. I need
Right.
results.
What it comes down to.
We need results,
Right.
coach. And with that, I was thinking about the next question about mentorship. It's something. Another thing that we don't talk about is mentorship because a lot of these young boys and some girls play as well at the next level. They don't have mentorship. They're kind of like a loose cannon. Put it that way. When I say that, when I say mentorship, structure, understanding, basically what you just said, authority, understanding. Yes, yes, sir. And like, one of my biggest pet peeves, coach, when I'm coaching is when I'm talking to you, look me in my eyes. I can't stand when you look at me on the floor. I can't, it bothers me. Like, am I, so if I talk to you, I need to look down. Like, look at me.
Right.
Just look at my ears. You mean look, act like, fool me. And I said that because I personally believe that mentorship is missing with our young boys and girls today at the next level. They're so money hungry at chasing the next best school, the next best deal. They can miss the ultimate thing that they need for their future. They may be chasing the money instead of chasing the real gold inside. So how do you feel about mentorship, coach?
It's why I still do it. I mean, it's why I still coach. It really is. I know people look at me sometimes, probably wonder like, what are you doing, or why did you do this after being at the Division 1 level for 26 years? I mean, that's a long time. And then I'd coached in junior college before, and then help run the travel organization, to help coach those kids and team, and then come back to the JUCO level again, having done it before. But for me, it's all about helping players, and it's being there for them and developing those relationships. And that's why I do it. I may not have won as many games as a lot of people out there, and I understand that. So everybody probably views me a little bit different,
Different.
but I want to make sure that I'm there to help develop them, to give them somebody, give them structure, give them direction. The core of everything I believe, all the way to whatever I do, is accountability and discipline, and then we work everything off of that, whether it's sometimes, good or bad, however that works out for the player. But I stress this every day, that no matter what happens, I always got your best interest at heart. And that's what I'm doing. There is no hidden agenda. There's no, I do say this. I mean, if I had a really big ego, would I be coaching in junior college? No.
No.
I'd have found a way to try to stay at the Division I level, or jump to pro ball, or
Yeah.
something like that. But, and I'm not saying I don't have an ego. Every coach does, because that's just the way you are and the way you're wired and built. But that's not why I do this. It is that mentorship part of it. And I did one of the best things I had this fall, because I do bring a lot of former players around to talk to this team. Now, there are players that I had at MTSU. I haven't been here long enough to have that, but I've got players that are been to the big leagues or successful in business. I've got one that's a former Navy SEAL. I've got, so I'll bring those guys through, and let them talk or whatever. And I had one of our current players came up one day and said, Coach, when I want this to be done, I want us to have that kind of relationship. I want, where I can pick the phone up and call you, or you're going to call and check on me because we've
Right.
had, and that's what I want. I mean, you're not going to hit home with, 40
Every.
players like
That's
I've
right.
got on the roster every
That's
year,
right.
but,
That's right.
and it may be 5 years from now until they realize, hey, I get it now. I see what that was. I may have not embraced it when I was there, but now I know what coach was trying to do, and where it was at. But I want those relationships, and this sounds shallow, I know, but all of my closest friends now haven't been in this for so long, or former players or coaches. It is. I mean, we have family, friends, and things like that, but when it comes down to it, the majority of them are those former guys.
Right. I mean, Coach, what you just said is so powerful because I'm saying that I'm giving myself a little shout because in my book I talk about mentorship. In my book, I talk about character. Something we're not talking about X's and O's. We're talking about some things that will get coaches. Because I think coaches are leaders. That's just what I think coaches are real leaders. If they're really coaching, impacting that kid to do something beyond the field that's outside of that. And I said that because I started thinking about some things, a couple coaches I told you before we got on the air, some coaches that impact me, that really impact my life. And to this day, which we talked about this before we came on the air. And it's interesting because, I mean, I've been coaching for 10 years and I still have a relationship with several guys. They call me, like literally call me. Like, that's mentorship. You've impacted these boys in a positive way. They're in college now, trying to go to the next level, and they still calling their high school coach. I mean, same thing for you. That touches me. That means I did my job.
Right.
I mean, and there's going to be some that's not going to like you. There's some that just can't stand me.
That's right.
And it's interesting because I want to bring this point up because I was at another reputable school. I don't want to say the name of the school. A very good baseball high school. It's a private school in South Florida. And this school, several guys get drafted and they go D1. Very good school. But anyway, I was coaching the JV at this time. I was coaching the JV team. And there was this one kid. He just didn't have it. He didn't have it. And he wanted to play a certain position. I won't say his position because people that listen may know who he is. So make a long story short, I'll be working with him and working with him. I'm like shaking my head every day, coach. Like every day, like, why is this kid out here? Why is he here? Interesting enough, I left the following year and got a better job, right? Went to another level, another school. And then when I left, he didn't play the next year. He didn't. He was looking for me. He actually looked for me. The kid I'm talking, that same kid that I'm like, why is he here?
Right.
He just doesn't have it. And so make a long story short, I thought the kid hated me. I really thought he hated me because he never said much to me. His dad really didn't care for me. We and his dad had a little powwow, and I kind of said some stuff. It wasn't ugly. It was just man to man.
Right.
And he was talking about his son. I was like, well, do you realize what we got out here versus what he's doing? So make a long story short, right? School starts in August, coach. I was gone. So he transferred and went to the school I was at. And I was scratching my head like, what? This has to be God. This is unbelievable. And I'm sitting here scratching my head like, he's coming here. You know what? Coach Larry, blah, 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 blah. Like, okay. So I'm going a little faster. So anyway, this kid went to homeschool just to go to the school I was at because it was too late to register. He decided to go to homeschool, and I remember I had a powwow with his dad. Me and his dad didn't, we clashed. We had a little, he's from New York. I'm from Chicago. He's puffy and I'm puffy, but I was respectful. And it just blew me away because one of the players was still at the old school I was at. He texted me. He said, da da da, he's looking for you. I'm like, huh? What? He's looking for me? And I thought this kid hated my guts because he was like the last one doing everything. He was so slow. He wasn't to par. So make a long story short, he came to my school. I couldn't help but accept him. I couldn't. What can you say? Like, I like what I mean. He may not be the best baseball player, but I must have impacted him in a positive way. Going back to mentorship, and he played for me the next couple of years. And matter of fact, I gotta say it, he was one of the best defensive infielders I had. I said infielders. I didn't say defensive. He couldn't hit, but he was like, I was like, I must have really impacted this kid because kids don't talk. They don't tell you stuff.
Right.
So I thought that he just every time he looked at me, he's like, he never looked like he was happy being around at practice because I'm like a drill sergeant. I mean, that's the way I am because I'm trying to develop young men. And so it's just funny. We talk about mentorship. I had to throw that out there. This kid, I thought he hated me, coach, and he followed me. He didn't even play the first year. He didn't even play. He didn't play at all. Me and his dad got into it. And so he came to follow me the next year. And so anyway, coach, I just had to throw that story. You're shaking your head like,
Right.
coach, what do you guys say what do you think about that? Is that wild?
That is crazy. I mean, but think things like that happen because kids don't communicate great anymore, especially. So sometimes you think you know what they're thinking, but you don't. I mean, that's the other piece that goes into this too. But
Coach,
no, that's great. That's a
Coach,
great
I
story.
had to share that story. I know,
No,
I know it's about you, but I just when I thought about mentorship, I was like,
no, it's
and I
great.
heard your story. I'm like, I got to tell this story because nobody knows this story, but my wife. But this is the first time I could talk about how important mentorship and how you
Right.
impact young boys and young girls. And I thought the kid hated me, coach, like hated me. Every time he come to practice, he never looked happy. Because they used to say, Coach Lars, he's too hard. He's strict. You can't be late. He wants you to run through the bases all the time. He wants you to say yes. He wants you to say, he's like, it's like drill sergeant. But after they got to me and they played for me, they're like, Coach Lawrence, he just wants structure. He just wants structure. That's all
Right.
he wants. He just wants it make because some guys don't have structure. So when I put structure, they think I'm the enemy. I'm like,
That's right.
I'm not the enemy. I'm just this is what we need to do. Right, coach? Would you say the
That's
same?
exactly right. 100% right. And that's
Coach, Coach is shaking his head. Coach is just laughing. I'm like, Coach, I'll never forget that. The kid was terrible. I mean, he was just bad. He was bad. But it's just interesting how he developed the next couple years to be the best defensive player on my team. He was the worst the first year. By year 3, he was the best defensive player on the team. I can count on him hands down. Doesn't matter if someone butts, he's gonna get it. He's gonna get the no matter how hard you hit the ball, he's gonna get it. And he was probably a buck 20 and about 5'3". It was like tiny. So I just I didn't,
a great story, though.
yeah, I just want you to hear that story. It's like this kid was so I'm so sorry. For guys and girls, I'm sorry. This is episode 123. I got Coach Jim McGuire for Volunteer State. I just got a little tangent there. I just had to share that
All
story.
part of it.
It's part of the story. The mentorship is so important. That's just something I believe because mentorship goes back with coachability and also goes back with heart and respect. Goes back to the things that I think that we all should be built on. But that's for another show, another time. So my next question is this, Coach. When players choose to go the JUCO route, what qualifies what qualities or habits allowed them to succeed to move to that 4 year D1 program based on your JUCO?
Yeah, I think the difference in going to junior college compared to any of the other levels, there is some pluses to it, and I guess I could say this is the way you sell it, because you can your fall is different. You have less restrictions. So the way I try to approach it with players is when they come to junior college, they're betting on themselves. They're betting on themselves. They're betting on me. They're betting on your coaching staff to try to get them better where they can get to the Division 1 level. Well, how is that different than going, somewhere else or some other level? But the restrictions are less. You can play outside competition in the fall, so you can play games. We'll play 20 to 25 games in the fall against outside competition. Then we have our inter squads. You have a length. We start mid-August, and then we go all the way to November the 1st. That's our fall. That's like a whole nother season. Whereas, for example, Division 1 level, you're going to get about a 5 to 6 week window to practice. Then you have this group work stuff that you can do beforehand. That's, they call it individual work or whatever. So it's not as team oriented. It's not as
Right.
long. There's an evaluation period in junior college where you can go to events and, somewhat compared to travel ball, I guess would be a comparison that you
Yeah.
go play at an event and there's 25 other junior colleges there, 4 year schools come and watch. So you have that window, then you're just not as restricted, and then you can play your 56 games in the spring. So there's, getting the opportunity to get at bats, get on the field right away. I just think it's a whole nother look compared to what it would be at the 4 year level, whatever level that is. It could be not just necessarily Division 1, and because we have Division 1 transfers here now, but we also have NAIA and Division 2 and different levels that are there that you can So the positives for me and what they're looking for, they're going to bet on themselves when you come to community college or come to junior college to play. You're going to get less restrictions, more time on the field, more games, more development when it comes to that side of it. Because again, it is the shorter window, but you get to do more in that window than you do at some of the other levels.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why junior college is becoming much more of a selling point now, because you're going to be developed, you're going to be further along. That then I hate to say it this way because this was always the dilemma when you would meet with a high school kid that was on the fringe. If I was at the Division 1 level, are you better off coming to Division 1 level and not getting much playing time, not get on the field very much for your first 2 years, and then you're ready to play, say, your junior year,
Right.
as compared to the junior college guy that gets all these at bats and plays all the time. I think that junior college guy now is going to pass that guy up, and they're going to be more prepared, and they're going to just recruit over the top of the guy that's been there. That's why you see everybody leave so much now, because the portal, you throw that in on top of it with the junior college guy, they get kind of left behind.
Yeah.
So that I do think there's a lot more on-field, hands-on development that can go on at the junior college level
Yes.
that I think is an advantage if somebody comes to this level to play.
I think that's. I think you're 100% correct, and it prepares you. It's just better preparation. You can go to a million lessons. You can get lessons. You can get trainers. You can get mentors, but you need hands-on developmental, and you need action. You need to be in-game
Yeah,
action, so you'll know how to respond when it gets hot. You'll know when to turn on fire.
that's
That's
right.
just how I look at it. And you. This is another question to you that it's not even on my notes, but I just thought about it as you were talking. Since you coach D1 and you coach JUCO, my question to you, because I know most of the listeners want to know this question: if someone's sending you a letter of interest to go to your school, what is the best way? How should they subtitle it? What should the header looks like? What are you looking for as a coach? Because if you're getting 100 emails a day, coach, my question is, what is that one email you're looking for that can stand out, that you can help the listeners understand how to send an email, a letter to a potential school they want to go to? What are you looking for? How do they write it? What's the subletter? What's the
Yeah,
subtitle?
I think some of the biggest separation with it is really you gotta personalize it, number one. Like, I think you've got to be direct. I mean, there's so many. I mean, I can roll through some I looked at today that were, I'm not necessarily they're copy and pasted, but they're just changing, Coach McGuire to Coach Lowry or whatever. I mean, they're just changing the name, and the body of it is the same. So you're looking for something that's going to be some type of personalizing it, and then is there a way that there is a connection to, is there another way to connect to the school or to me or something in the area? Not make it your just run of the mill letter. And so an example would be they might be from Florida. Okay. They might be, but they'd be like, hey, I've been in the Nashville area. I understand. I see you've had some other players from Florida by looking at your roster. That intrigues me. Here's some video. Here's some contacts that you can talk to about me. I'd love, Coach, for you to come and watch me play. I'm coming to a tournament,
Yeah,
Music City
yeah.
Classic in Nashville. If you're ever down this way, here's my, just anything like that that
Mm-hmm.
really makes it look like they are really interested. I don't need somebody to blow blow my ego up and say, "Oh, hey, I saw you coached at MTSU for 26 years and you've done a tremendous job." And I appreciate all that. I do, but I also know that's a little bit of eyewash. I want somebody that, hey, there is a way to make a connection to me, because
Right.
you are correct. I mean, the amount of emails that you get now or through social media, whether people are reaching out through, I still call it Twitter, through X, and they're DMing you, or whether it's through Instagram or whatever it might be. There, and that's important too. Because I have to do the same thing with our players. I have to
Right.
say, okay, you want to reach out to these schools. Here's the direction, the way that I would do it,
Mm-hmm.
and understand. So I have to try to educate them,
Right.
because I've got the incoming, but then I've got to do our guys going out. So I've got to make it all balance out the
Mm-hmm.
right way. And you're just trying to find that connection. And then I know there's going to be a lot. Coaches will read it or move it into a file or just
Right.
hit delete and move on,
That's
because
right.
there is nothing that, if I get something from, say, from the West, somebody from Utah or
Right.
Montana or somewhere, like, I mean, that's a stretch for me unless
Right.
there's something there that
That
would connect
connects.
me back to
Yeah.
it.
And
Then
coach,
I'll take a look at it a little bit,
yeah, and how many times should they email you? When is it enough, coach, if they're emailing you? When is enough enough?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple emails to see if there is a connection or a way to do
Okay.
it. But and then I think the other side of it is you need to use the social media platform to get your information out there. To use it, it's good to put video out, and it's good to put, to follow coaches or whatever. I'm not a big on tagging a bunch of coaches. I just don't think that's, or a bunch of programs. I think you're better off putting it out, running through some different sites, and then if somebody does follow you back or does it, then send a message. That's what I have our guys do. Hey, so and so followed me back. I messaged them, to see if there is a connection. And I do. I mean, I guess from being in it for so long, I
So
do
long.
tell our players, hey, there's a lot of coaches you'll reach out to that there will be a connection to me in some capacity, whether it's direct or not. So use your high school coaches, use your travel ball coaches, use the people that coach might know that they can use as a reference.
Reference.
Hey, I know, my coach played at, LSU or whatever, and you played at Alabama, whatever. I don't. You got to come up with different ways. You do have to be a little bit creative, and it is the old adage that we used to use all the time is, hey, if you're good enough, they'll find you. I, I don't know if that's always necessarily true anymore. I think you do have to be proactive with it. I
Right.
do think you have to be, active in that side of it. And I've got players that way. Everybody's locked into social media, but I've got some guys that aren't. They're just not into it. They look at it, but they don't know how to utilize that
Right.
part of it. Email is important, and the social media side is very important. Picking up the phone, or if they're, texting coaches, is okay. But again, I think the other avenue is to let them look at it and review it. Sometimes is the best way to try
Yeah.
to approach it. But a couple emails, see if you can get the response. Try the social media side, and if it doesn't filter from there, go into their camps. as a high school player is important to get in front of them, but, and I get it. You're going to look at it sometimes and say that camp's just a moneymaker. There's 200 players there. There's no way I'm going to get noticed. And there is some truth to that. There is, but you just want to be evaluated and seen and get in front of
Right.
them and then let them make the decision from there.
Well, Coach, I've got a few more questions. Actually, about three questions left. And I'm gonna deal with something that most athletes don't like to talk about is academics. You don't want to talk about the academics, which we talked about that before we started. And I know the answer, but I'm gonna ask the question for the audience: how critical are academics for JUCO players who want to keep their options open to advance their baseball career?
And you just said it's just everything to keep the options open, but it's critical. And our grades just got posted late yesterday. I spent last night going through all 40 players, going through their grades, what their transcript looks like, what it's going to look like for them moving forward. And this is not a cop out line that I say all the time as well. The player sets the market on where he's able to go, but the academics is the biggest thing that sets that market. They might be a great player or have the metrics or have the analytics and have the stats but if the academics aren't there with it, it's going to pull them down, and that's why the market they get set lower, because of it. But the academic piece is so important. Again, you go to community college, you go to junior college, you're betting on yourself, like I said, but you have to keep your academics in order. You've got to keep it moving in the right direction, to be able to, because there's levels when you go to the 4-year school of how you can get extra money.
Right.
To be
Right.
eligible, yeah, you only have to have a 2.5 or whatever. But if you're going to get some money to go with that besides the athletic money, now you got to be above a 3.0. Then if you're going to get additional, maybe you got to be above a 3.5,
Right.
or you're going to a private school. Our players, they come in, they don't know where they're going. They don't know if they're going in-state, out-of-state, big school, small school, public, private. So you better have a broad base, and you better have a good academic base to be able to not
Right.
restrict where you're going or prevent you being able to go somewhere. But academics is unbelievably important, and I'm pretty tough on our guys academically, but I'll brag on them for a minute.
Go ahead. Go
Looking at
ahead.
it right now, it's one of the best semesters that we've had since
Ooh,
I've been here. So I'm excited. I'm excited. I'll pat myself on the back a little bit for
I
that.
like that, Coach. That's great. That's great.
Good so far.
I like that because you hit a very key component. I've got a couple of friends. I got one that coaches at the University of Iowa, Big Ten, and also one that coaches at Michigan State. And they're good friends of mine. I talk to them, frequently. And I'm gonna talk about the Iowa coach, which I love him to death. He's a funny guy. He's been coaching about as long as you. He's been coaching a long time, and the one thing that he deals with is, and he doesn't mind me saying this, I'm quite sure, is academics. Because when he's recruiting at high school, at JUCO, at transfer, because some schools don't have the funds. They don't have as some state schools don't have the funds, and people just got to realize that just because they're D1 don't mean that they have gazillion dollars. It may be just for football, or maybe just for basketball, or maybe just for volleyball. Believe it or not, he's educated me on that, and I said that here's a great example here. Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is a baseball school for the most part. Yes, we're not talking about the academics. I'm talking about athletics. That's an athletic baseball school overall. Yes, they do have other sports, but I've noticed something he told me. He said, when I'm recruiting, talking about coach at Iowa, he said, when I'm recruiting, one of the first things I look at is academics because I know what my money is. Because if they can qualify for X amount of dollars as a academic scholarship, I can throw in some extra athletic scholarship. And most kids don't know that. I hope you guys are listening to this. This is very key. And this is at some schools you may not think, oh, they got money. Oh, they got money. They got money. But they got so many other guys, like you talked about earlier, they got so many other guys to feed, not just you. And they got to split those funds up. And, Coach, he's educated me about that. He really educated me at that. He really broke it down. And it goes a little deeper because then that goes with your traveling, who you're playing and travel, how much money they're gonna. It all goes. It works together. They don't, but most athletes don't know that, Coach. Same thing with Michigan State. Same situation. It's only so much money they have because Michigan State is a basketball school. It's a basketball school. So the funds, sometimes you have to split those funds up between all of the athletics. And that I just realized I've learned a little bit, not all the time, but sometimes. There's only so much they have for each school. So, what you going at Middle Tennessee State, is that something that you can relate to?
Exactly. We call it stacking money. You can just stack money on top of each other. So anytime that you can get, academic aid to get your base, you want to get a base of what they can receive. And I do that here as well. I mean, everybody's situation is unique. You want to see, you get a discount if your
Right,
parents work in the state, or you get whatever it is. So all
right,
these different ways and avenues of money, you just start trying to stack it on top of each other. Then you can come in and you put the athletic aid on top of it.
right,
And that's how players can really get taken care of financially. But if you
right.
don't have those other things and you're relying just strictly on the athletic aid
Athletics. Right,
in baseball, I know there's NIL out there and all that type of
right,
stuff.
right,
But if you're putting all your eggs in just the athletic part of it, I think you're going to be in trouble. Now, in the Power Four,
right,
there is full scholarships now in baseball. It's different than when I was doing it, and just a few years ago. But not at all the other levels. It's not.
correct,
It's not
correct.
at other levels. That's where you really have to have the base to be able to start stacking that money and put
Right.
you in a better position.
Right, right. But thanks, Coach. I'm glad you said that, because he taught me this a couple of years ago, and I was listening to him. We're talking, and we're having a meeting, and he talked about the NIL stuff. That's just a plus. That's an extra. That's just an extra.
Right.
But
Right.
most guys think just because I'm in college, I'm going to get NIL. It doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work. You just, well, I'm in college. I play baseball. I'm good. I'm going to get it. No, you got to realize that you have to be a brand. You have to be a market for them, because you're going to market them your services for the. It's going to have to be an exchange. It's just not just free money. So I'm gonna give you the money because I like you. It's more to it. But that's one other thing I want to ask. But I got two more questions. What advice would you give a high school player who feels overlooked, frustrated, discouraged because they haven't got an offer yet? What would you tell them?
And that's very, very common right now, especially if you say you're a senior in this 26 class, because everybody, and here's the explanation of why there's not as many offers and things out there. So let me go backwards with it. The first thing I would tell them would be, you're just going to have to be patient. And I know that's easy for a coach to say, it's easy for you to say, everybody to say, but you have to be patient, because every school is only going to recruit so many players in your class, and then they're going to wait and see what happens with the portal. And I have to do the same thing. I can't, even 5 years ago when I got here, we would, if we were going to recruit 20 in a recruiting class and have 40 on the roster, we'd expect 20 guys going out, 20 guys coming in. And of the 20 coming in, you might have one or two transfers, and the rest would be all high school players. It's not that way anymore. You can't do that because you don't want to miss out on that part of it. As a coach in a program, you have to take some transfers. That's just the way, the nature of the beast right now. So you have to be patient. That's number one. And some of this may not happen until the springtime. Like, I have a lot of 2027s that are reaching out to me now, and I'm just telling them, you're going to have to be real patient, because that's way down the line for me, because I'm so focused on what's going on right now that
Correct.
it's just going to take time before we really get around to the 27s at this level anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So patience is the first thing, and then do not close doors to anyone. Okay, do not close doors to anyone at any level. You're just looking for the best opportunity that you can get, and it might not be at school X, Y, or Z, but there's others that you can get in, and if they're interested, because that's what I stress to our players too. We just had one of our players commit last night
Okay.
for the next year, because he wanted to kind of take the pressure off and play in the spring. But the majority of even of our guys, they don't make any decisions until the springtime of their sophomore year before they decide where they're going. So not everybody decides, a year in advance or 8 months in advance, or whatever. The window gets tighter. Everybody's going to want to know where you're going. What are you doing? Are you going to play in college? What do you just, hey, I'm being patient. I'm just looking for the right opportunity, and I'm going to keep going until I find that opportunity. And it's easy to get discouraged. I understand that, but don't get discouraged with it. There'll be a place out there. There'll be an opportunity if you really want to do it. You just have to keep working hard, keep moving in that direction. You do want to continue to reach out, like we've already mentioned, and get in front of them from time to time. Don't always set your sights on going to every Division 1 camp. Go to some Division 2 schools that have a camp. See what that looks like. Go watch those schools play in the springtime and see how high a level that is.
Right.
Hey, can I fit in there, and does that work for me? So you do have to market yourself a little bit with it, but be patient. There's going to be opportunities that'll come along. It just may not be right in front of you. Again, I hate it for the 2025 class. It was rough. 26 class going to be rough. I think 27s and 28s. I think this will all calm down a little bit better. But for the immediate time right now, you're just going to have to be patient with it and let it ride
Yeah.
out. But,
Yeah, I like that what you said. I mean, I'm with you as well because I think that we're very impatient. We're very impatient.
right
We want it now,
now,
and
exactly.
and I understand that. And people can say, "Well, you don't understand." I'm like, we understand. We're not that old. We played baseball before. We
Right.
know. We understand what patience is patience at every level. I just said that because I know that, and I've talked about this in my book. People feel overlooked, overwhelmed, underachieved, underpicked, and they get frustrated. And I'm like, well, that's part of the process. I think it's just part of the process. It's like I look at it like this. It's like playing the last game of the year. This is a championship game. Look at it like that. Either you're gonna give up or you're gonna just wait to the end, fight to the end. Just fight to the end.
Right.
There's an old saying that we used to say, the fat lady is not singing yet, so just keep going.
That's right. Yep.
The fat lady is not singing;
Not
she's
over until the
humming.
fat lady sings.
That's
That's
right. The fat
right.
lady sing, then we can leave.
That's a
But
bad
right,
statement. I don't know if you're allowed to say that
right, right, right.
anymore.
I'm just making,
You're
I'm making,
shaming people when you're
yeah,
doing
I'm not
it.
trying to shame anybody. I'm just making a comment that back in the day we used to say that, and I'm saying that because we got to realize that when you're not recruited, you feel overlooked. You don't have any offers. Look at it as this is a championship game. And this is the bottom of the seventh. Are we going to finish the game the best? Put everything on the table and just see what happens. Just keep going, keep trying that. So I encourage everyone that's listening. What you just said, I back everything up, and I really want to say thank you, Coach. But I've got this last question. We're going to end it off. This last question is it, Coach? How important is a player uh, to have faith, family, and have a plan after the life of baseball so they can have the foundations of impacting a long-lasting, successful life on and off the field? That could be draft, they can get drafted, or whatever the case may be. Because I personally believe you got to have faith. First, you got to have faith, and then you got to have family. And I like call it future. What's your future besides baseball? Because a lot of times, you know, this because I told you just a long time when I first met you. I thought baseball was everything to me. Everything. I didn't know nothing but baseball. I mean, I had to realize that I needed God. I needed higher power. I needed faith because at the end of the day, when you tear that rotator cuff up and you can't throw no more, or you rip that knee up and you can't run like you used to anymore, or you hurt that back, you know, you the doctor can only do so much. So, how important is it? Would you say having faith, family, and a future?
Yeah, it's still the most important thing. I mean, we're all having this conversation, and we go through everything because of the game of baseball, and we all love it. Everybody's in tune to it, and that's everybody's focus and everything that's there. But you can't get lost in that, and you can't. Your whole identity cannot just be baseball. It can't be. And I'm not. Hey, as a young coach, that was my identity. It really was. My identity was baseball and winning. I mean, that was when I got very fortunate. I was 24 years old and became a junior college head coach the first time I did this. And that's all I was in. I know, hey, the more games that I can win, the more focused I can be in this, I can move up. And I did. I got the opportunity at Middle Tennessee State because of that. I know that. But as I've grown older and watched this and watched players, and it just cannot be your total identity, your faith, your family, how you're, how you're acting around people that are around you, how you can
Yeah.
influence other people with your platform and what you're doing and the involvement. Because in the end, that's what it's all about.
Wow.
It really is. As great as this game is and everything it's brought to me and my family and people around me, and it has for you as well. it's still not the end all to
That's right.
end all. So
That's right.
you put forth everything you can into this. You can't lose sight of where the most important
Important.
things are,
Yeah.
and the most important things are going to be what happens after this is over with.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen. I appreciate that, Coach. This is episode 123. We got a very on Coach Jim McGuire, Volunteer State Coach. But if you can leave a closing remark before I close out, I would love to have you have a closing remark and how they can contact if they're interested in your program.
Well, first of all, if you're interested to get in contact with me or with our program, best way to Vol State, VOLSTATE.edu would give you our website to give you information on the college and the program. But then also my direct email is jim.mcguire, MCGUIRE at Vol State, all one, VOLSTATE.edu. You can email me there and we can connect that way. But just the best thing I can tell you and leave this with you is, just don't let anybody tell you that you can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard that your whole life, but, trust the people that are around you, respect the people that tell you the truth, whether that's not always what you want to hear. Use that as motivation and just keep working as hard as you can. And then in the end, you want to be able to step away from this and say, hey, I did everything that I could
Yeah.
to be the best player, best person, and the best athlete that I could be. But trust your family, believe in who you're around, and you're going to be successful in no matter what that you do. But love the game, embrace it, but don't let it totally identify you or eat you up. It's a tough game. It's a lot of fun to be around. It's great to have success, but utilize it the best way that you can.
Yeah. Yeah, use it as a platform. Use it for a stepping stone to get to the next level, wherever God's going to take you and wherever you feel your destiny is going to be. Because at the end of the day, I was one of those guys that I didn't have anything else. I didn't know nothing. Nothing. I mean, I can recall when I went to see you, I remember it like it was yesterday. You didn't know that, but I was lost. I was totally lost. I was lost. And, because I thought baseball was my God. And I realized, no, I only have one God, and Jesus Christ is my Lord, and I had to remember that. But when you don't know anything else because you're not being taught anything else, and no one else is talking about it, sometimes you got to hit that wall. You're like, wait a minute, I tore my rotator cuff. I can't throw anymore. I can't throw like I used to, and I hurt my knee, and I don't run that 6'4" anymore. And then I hurt my back. And I'm like, I hurt my back. And I'm like, it's just everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. You may not like it, but it happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason because it's all. I mean, I believe that all things work together for the good of those who love Jesus Christ. That's just what I believe, and I just can say that because I'm a living testimony. I have life after baseball. It was pretty hard. It was hard in the beginning. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it like Coach just said. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It was extremely hard. I didn't know what I was going to do. So if you ever feel that you're in that way or in that situation, it's okay. We've all been there, and it's always another better days, better opportunities. You just have to look at it past what you're going through. It too will come to pass. But if you enjoyed anything about this episode, and you need more clarity or perspective, or you're challenged how to think, or your baseball future, hey, don't let that stop you. Go ahead and get my book, Are You Really D1? That's the next step to understand what college coaches like my very own friend, Coach Jim McGuire, actually talked about that today in today's episode 123. Go to www.rud1, that's AREYOU, the letter D, the number 1.com, so you can get informed, get prepared, put yourself in position to win on and off the field. And reminder, get ready. I always say this, Coach, get ready, stay ready, and always be ready. Hey, thank you for tuning in to YouGoin'Pro podcast. God bless. Hey, thanks, Coach. I appreciate it. Have a great and prosperous holiday.